This is Volusia Today, a public information radio program brought to you by the County of Volusia.
Good morning, Volusia County. My name is Michael Ryan, and you are listening to Volusia Today, Volusia County's one and only trusted source for local news. Joanne, how was that? You used to do this. Was that good?
That was great.
That was not great.
That was awesome.
That's Joanne. That's why Joanne's good at her job right there.
It is a trusted source. Of course that is.
We change it up every time and try new ones every time. Except it's always kind of close to the same one every time. Good morning, Kelsey. How are you?
I'm great, Michael. How are you?
I'm sorry. I announced one of our guests early. I apologize. We have two very special guests this morning. Two of my most favorite people, other than myself, of course, right behind them in my Jeep with us today. But before we talk to them about the airport, we've got a couple news items to talk about.
We do. Some big hitting items, actually. So Monday, we are doing a big ribbon cutting.
Yeah, tell me what.
We have a library reopening, actually, and a health service center as well. So it's on Keach Street, if you guys are out that way. Yeah. Very excited. Some great services to the community. Reopening.
So you've also been working quite a bit on Celebrate Volusia. What is that?
You know, everyone in this county should come to Celebrate Volusia to find out. Because we have some amazing people, airport included.
Yes, we will be there.
And all the services that you need all in one place, as well as some awesome stuff. Like I will be bringing my son for Touch a Truck. If you know what your kids are grown now, right? But
yeah.
My son, any mom in this county will know what Touch a Truck means.
Bro, I still love to go run up and touch a fire truck. Like, who doesn't?
Exactly. So we got all that going on. We have a free Pablo Cruz concert.
Right.
You know,
a little bit of yacht rock.
A little bit of jazz, a little bit of yacht rock.
I'll tell you who that is later.
Can't wait to find out.
Well, so a bunch of family-friendly activities. There's free hot dogs and cookies.
And free parking.
And there's a huge expo where you can come in and meet the people who serve your county, meet the airport, and meet the animal services. And
get your Park Volusia parking pass.
Yeah, let's talk about Park Volusia. What is that, Kelsey?
So Park Volusia is going to be launching on October 1st. It is going to be free for the residents of Volusia County. All you have to do is sign up, and you'll be able to drive on the beach, park on the beach, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. A couple months ago, the county council voted to make off-beach parking and beach driving free for all Volusia County residents. So all you have to do is register your car, and most of the gates will have automatic, what they call those things, arms, right? Well, they'll just read your license plate, and they know you're registered.
But you have to register.
You do have to register. If you have an annual pass, it's still good, but it's still going to be much more efficient and faster if you just go ahead and register for that. So the bottom line is, if you're a Volusia County resident after October 1st, there's no longer a need to buy a beach pass, a daily pass. When off-beach parking goes into effect and we start charging for that, it's also free starting January, I think.
That's going to be my first chance to put my car in 4x4. Yeah, so we're gonna give it a go.
What do you drive?
I drive a Kia Telluride. Mom car.
Yeah.
Just to the T.
It fits you. No offense. All right. I tell you what, let's talk about our special guest. I told you I was
the best way to start a Friday morning, right?
I suspect Joanne did the show slightly different. Let's introduce our special guest. Today we have Cyrus. Cyrus, what is your title at the airport?
Yeah, it's complicated.
Well, he's much more than airport. I mean, airport's a big deal, but he is much more than airport.
Yeah, and then, when I go and take the show on the road, it's kind of like, what is that? But it's the Director of Aviation and Economic Resources. So my responsibility for the county is the airport division and the economic development division. So we have Karen Feaster, who's the airport division director. Phenomenal job.
She's been here a long time, right?
She was born at the airport.
Yeah.
She basically crawled out of the crib and then started her job at the airport. She's been here for 30 years and just phenomenal person.
She also has the best view of the Speedway.
She has the best view of the Speedway. I'm jealous. Maybe sometimes we need to swap. Every now and then.
You need to go show her the org chart. Help her understand.
It's okay. I'm hardly there because I'm back and forth between the land. And then Lou Paris is our new economic development director, and we stole him from Stetson, and he was doing some other fancy little entrepreneur stuff, and so he's been doing a phenomenal job as well.
So we have Lou, and I think, are you back on with Lou next week? In a week or two?
I don't know. He hasn't told me.
Heather next week.
Oh, it's Lou and Heather.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have Lou on in a week or two to talk about economic development. They have some big events coming up. Like you said, he's making some big moves.
He is.
And so we're going to bring him on. But today let's talk about the airport.
Fantastic.
I tell you, why don't you introduce your guest for us?
My guest?
Yes.
Joanne Magley.
Yeah, Joanne, thank you for being here.
Air service, marketing, customer service extraordinaire. I mean, I tell you, the ideas and just like the stuff that she comes up with. Part of the reason why she's going to talk about one of our greatest accomplishments of all Florida airports that we've been able to do. Part of the reason why we were able to do that is because of the ideas that come out of her head. And it's like, I'm hoping we don't lose her to some like Broadway show or some New York advertising firm because,
This is employee retention.
That's pretty good.
And then every time I go to some conference, they're like, oh, we're going to steal Joanne. We're going to do this. I'm like, you guys can't afford her.
God, sorry,
Michael, are you taking notes?
Well,
I know, right? She's like, I want to go work for Cyrus.
Yeah. So what Cyrus is alluding to is that Daytona Beach International Airport was named the 2024 Commercial Service Airport of the Year for the entire state of Florida. And this is the second time in 3 years that we were given this award by the state. And it's a big deal. This is all the airports in Florida, all the commercial airports. And one of the reasons that we stood out above the rest is management of the airport. So there's a few pillars: airport management, airport safety, airport aesthetics. And as you can see with the management that we have with Cyrus and with Karen, we have a great culture at the airport. So everybody works great together, and we all have, one common goal. First, safety is always the first priority,
Right.
But then the customer experience. When you fly in and out of DAB, it's an experience that you won't have when you fly into those other airports.
It really is a beautiful facility. Like who likes going to the airport, right? It's full of people and it's a hassle. You have to sit there and everything's expensive and blah, blah, all that stuff, right? But you go to DAB and it's actually an enjoyable experience. And it's a pretty building. It's not a bad place to go. Kelsey, I go hide from you over there, to be honest with you.
I do the same as well.
I schedule fake meetings on the east side just to go hang out at the airport. Don't tell anybody. It is beautiful and it's amazing, right? Help me understand. Tell me the title of that award again.
So it's the 2024, the Commercial Service Airport of the Year, and it's given to us by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Okay.
So airports have to submit, or other parties can submit an airport, and you have to write a proposal of why your airport deserves the award. And like I said, we got it in 2021, and we got it again just this summer at the Florida Airports Council. That's when they named the winner, and we were all there.
And it's rare, right? And so we're competing against 19 or 20 other commercial service airports. So Miami, Orlando, Tampa. When somebody thinks about, oh, we're going to fly to Florida, we're going to go to those airports, the things that we've been able to do to stay and keep up with those airports in terms of what we offer to our customers and how we go about deciding which projects hold relevance. And, it's phenomenal to be able to win that award twice in 3 years.
Yeah,
it's just not common at all.
I think as a layman who just, books a flight and gets on it and goes to wherever I'm going, there's so much that goes on behind it. Joanne's giving me a tour or two. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes in an airport that you don't know about, right? And the fact that you guys are, and the reality is it's a competitive business, and you don't really know that. You're just shopping for the best ticket prices to get you wherever you're trying to go, maybe, the fastest route or whatever it is. But the little bit of time I've spent with the two of you, it's interesting to learn that you guys compete with Orlando for the same customer and the same person buying the same flight, the same dollar, right? It's interesting. Right. The commercial aspect, is every airport commercial and, what's the other side? What do you call it?
General aviation. So commercial basically is if you have an airline, you have airline service.
Delta, American, Avelo.
Yeah, what we know, what the general public knows.
Yeah, they'll title that commercial. General aviation is the other side of it. So we have a ton of general aviation airports in the county. Ormond Beach Municipal Airport's a general aviation facility. New Smyrna Beach, DeLands Airport, and then you got the fly-in communities that we have around too. General aviation is just basically you're a private pilot. You're flying for your own recreational purposes. You don't have to go through the same strict guidelines that commercial has to. Of course, with commercial, and there's people, there's money, there's other elements that are involved. So you have to adhere to a different set of rules. Whereas general aviation, you just, you want to be safe, of course, but you fuel up your airplane. Some situations, you don't even have to talk to the air traffic control tower. If you're at a smaller airfield that doesn't have it, you get on Unicom and you just tell everybody, hey, it's me, I'm taking off.
I'm leaving.
So commercial service airports, you don't have that flexibility, but understandably so, because you have, 180 people on an airplane. You want to make sure that they get where they need to go safely.
And, we also have a good share of general aviation that flies out of our airport. So we're a commercial service airport, but we have a ton of general aviation as well. We are actually consistently the third busiest airport in the whole state of Florida when it comes to total operations. So that's takeoffs and landings.
Right.
So you may only see maybe a dozen or so commercial airliners taking off and landing a day. But you also might see, if you come on a 7 a.m., hundreds of smaller planes.
The private planes. And
ready
stuff.
to line up training planes, Embry-Riddle and the other training.
Right, Embry-Riddle, Phoenix East, ATP, I mean, you name it. Because Embry-Riddle being that huge economic development partner that we have that's on airport, and then they have their property as well. Probably the biggest flight school, and then they have another location in Prescott, Arizona, but probably the biggest flight school and most reputable. And, we're fortunate to have them. But, because of all of that activity, it really makes us a busy airport. So you'll be, like Joanne was saying, at 7 a.m., you'll see all these airplanes kind of lined up like you would imagine in Atlanta and Orlando would be during their rush hour. I mean, and then in the evenings, you'll see a trail of lights.
They're all coming
back. And it just really makes it a very interesting facility to manage because, we have just such diverse traffic.
Right.
We'll get military operations in addition to the flight training. And then you get business aviation operations because, NASCAR runs a pretty heavy business aviation component. And then, Yelvington, lots of business jets go into that fixed base operator. And then, so there are just so many different things that happen at Daytona Beach International. So,
I hadn't even thought about the partnership with NASCAR and the Speedway being literally next door, right?
Well, a good portion of the tracks on airport property.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I want to come back. Let's talk about that. I like to brag about that a little bit. I tell you what, let's take a break. You guys are making some big moves. There's some big stuff coming on with the airport and, like you said, economic development around it. Let's come back and talk about that.
We are Volusia County Beach Safety. We're here to serve Volusia County's 47 miles of unique coastline. Volusia County beaches. Yeah, those beaches. But also these beaches. We have millions of visitors every year, and we work around the clock to keep our beaches safe and beautiful. And you can help.
Swim near a staff lifeguard tower.
Pick up your trash. And fill holes. Identify, avoid, and escape rip currents.
Please leave the beach cleaner than you found it.
There we go. Look out for one another and keep an eye on kids, especially near the traffic lane and in the water.
Pets are allowed at our 2 pet-friendly beaches, Lighthouse Point Park and Smyrna Dunes Park.
If you see something, say something.
A clean and safe beach guarantees fun in the sun for everyone. Thank you for doing your part to keep Volusia County beaches beautiful. See you at the beach!
Make the most of your day at the beach. Download the Volusia County Beaches app today. Sign up for real-time notifications on vehicle ramp openings and closings. Find staffed lifeguard towers. Get updates on tides and beach conditions. Plus, off-beach parking and coastal parks info. Volusia County Beaches app is available for your smart devices at the App Store and Google Play.
Welcome back to Volusia Today, and we are getting ready to discuss some exciting stuff happening at the airport. Joanne, are you going to lead us into that?
Drum roll, please.
Yeah.
Well, the word has been out, and hopefully everybody's heard. But for those who haven't, we just landed. Well, they didn't land yet, but we landed the services of a new airline, Breeze Airways, and we're very excited about that. As Cyrus kind of alluded to earlier, it's one of the biggest announcements we've had at the airport because this airline came in and announced they're going to be flying to 4 destinations.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So their destinations, so they start in November 14th to be exact, and their first flight will be Westchester County, New York, and it's basically about 30 minutes from the city.
From the city, right.
And it's a great option. New York is our number 1 market, so this is huge. And then in February, they're going to have Hartford, Connecticut, Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, and Providence, Rhode Island. So those additional 3 flights will start up in February. So that's exciting. Breeze is a ultra low cost carrier. They have 3 different tiers of service, though. So they have what a lot of people would know about a low cost carrier, kind of no frills. You pay extra.
Leave your bag at home.
Right. If you just pay extra if you want a seat, you pay extra if you want to carry on a bag. So they're similar like that to other low cost carriers. But what's a little different about Breeze is they also have what's equivalent to like a first class or a middle of the road. Yeah. They have ranges where you can actually have different seating.
Like bigger seats, better seats, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Nice, nicer, and nicest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a different option.
Right, Michael, Joanne, Cyrus.
Yeah, he is the nicest, that's for sure.
Oh, I like to be nice.
So we're so excited about Breeze, and that's going to be great. But we also need to mention that Avelo is our other low-cost carrier, our first low-cost carrier, ultra-low-cost carrier that we've had in the market. They started service last June, and so we just celebrated their 1 year recently. Right? They currently have service to New Haven, Connecticut, and in November, they will also add 2 additional flights. They are also adding Hartford, Connecticut. So we have a large audience, I guess, not audience, but demand for traffic in the Hartford area. So they're also adding Hartford, but they're bringing back Wilmington, Delaware, which is really the Philadelphia market. And they started service with Wilmington at our airport. They had some structural changes. They changed some things throughout their system with Wilmington, and they kind of paused that service. But DAB was their number 1 requested market to come back to Wilmington. And they did a lot of promotion about that on their social. So we're excited that they're bringing back those, they're adding those 2 flights, and with that bringing back Wilmington. So
that's huge.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more activity happening at the airport with just those routes. But we also have to mention, you can't forget Delta Airlines and American Airlines.
Right.
Delta, we just celebrated their 45th anniversary of continuous service at DAB.
Wow.
And American has been serving our airport for about 15 years. Both of those airlines offer service to Atlanta and Charlotte, but from there, you go anywhere. So people take international flights from our airport. It's hard to imagine, but yes, you can. And sometimes it's easier, and sometimes it's it's always easier.
It's always easier.
But
well, let's talk about easier for a second, because a little bit of the elephant in the room, right? Just like I think most people, I shop ticket prices, right? Mm-hmm. And so my choice is here, or I can drive to Jax, I can drive to Orlando. I can drive to maybe Tampa if I really have to, right? Or I can drive literally from my house about 1.5 miles and park 30 feet from the door and walk straight in, right? And be in, and also 7 minutes of security, maybe. I've never seen a line for security there, right? So, but because my wife makes me, I shop ticket prices. And Joanne, you've helped me understand quite a bit why it makes sense to maybe possibly pay a little more to fly out of DAB. Help me understand that again.
Well, first off, you have to think about your time.
Yes.
So when you're driving more than an hour to a different airport, and then on top of that, you're adding, let's say, 45 minutes to an hour in security line.
Yeah.
And back up a minute, you have to find parking.
Yeah.
Which could be a nightmare at a bigger airport. So Right now, you've got, let's say, 2 to 3 hours at least wrapped up in just getting to the airport.
Right.
So time is money.
Right.
And who wants nope, and it's Orlando, right? Yeah. It's like Orlando traffic, and nobody wants to go to Jacksonville anyway. So like that eliminates both those.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always say, when you're planning travel, if you're going to another location, if you're going to Orlando, you're actually having to plan a half a day because you don't know what traffic's going to be on I-4. And then if you take the tolls on the 417, that's a whole nother animal. Then you have to park. Then if you're not a TSA pre-check or a clear customer, then you have to get in that line. And so you're rolling the dice with the line. With us, anybody in Volusia County, for the most part, especially if you're on the east side of Volusia County, you can pretty much be in the terminal 30 minutes before your flight and board. Now, with all our new service, I will say the only bad news is your wait time is going to go from 5 minutes to maybe 10 minutes now, just because of all the traffic. But still, if you're measuring that against other airports, and especially if you're not a TSA pre-check customer, this is still going to be a breeze. It's still going to be an easy experience. And the other thing, too, our customer service model, it resonates through the organization, whether it be TSA, whether it be the airline ticket counter representatives, whether it be the rent-a-car representative, we all share in that same customer service philosophy. Sometimes when you go to those bigger places, it's really hard to get down into the organization to make sure that everybody's sharing those same customer service values. So you may run across someone that's probably having a bad day and probably going to, not be as customer service centric. And then so that affects your experience as well. We rarely have situations like that.
So I think that's your new marketing campaign. Just we're nicer.
I have never seen such a relaxed airport in my life.
Right.
Everyone has a smile on their face that walks through that door. It is amazing. It makes me want to fly out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. And one more note about price, because you mentioned ticket prices. Many times, especially if you're able to plan at least 60 days out, you'll find the prices pretty competitive, sometimes even less expensive. But because we have less seats to offer, we don't have as many flights a day as the larger airports. It's just the supply and demand. If you wait till a week before your flight, or even 2 weeks, the prices are going to be higher. Yeah. But if you are able to plan out ahead of time, you will be a little more competitive with pricing. And now also that we have these 2 low-cost carriers that have come in, that's really changed the dynamics, because now instead of just having the 2 legacy carriers, which offer a different product, and you're paying for a different product with the Delta and American, now you have these low-cost carriers who which fit in budgets a little differently for families.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 100%
or single,
right.
people that just want to travel.
Just want to get up to the Northeast, But yeah, the low cost carrier element in the picture now, and there's often a lot of questions from the public, like, well, yeah, but we want to go to New York, or we want to go to Chicago, or we want to go, and then those prices are still high. The more we have increased capacity into the market, the legacy carriers will start to adjust some of their strategy, and those fares will come down. But just like Joanne was saying, it's a supply and demand situation. So the airlines, they're going to put resources where they feel they can make most money. And if there's no competition, there's no reason to bring those fares down. Now that we've added the low-cost carriers into the element, now they're kind of taking notice. And so there may be some fare opportunities going into similar markets that some of these low-cost carriers are going into. So the key, though, in order for us to make sure that we keep adding this capacity and we're able to keep this service, you have to use it.
You got to support it.
You got to support it. And so we've been working very close with our Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we were very fortunate just recently that they've been able to increase some of their marketing support. And so the 3, West Volusia, Southeast Volusia, and the HA Board, the Halifax Advertising Agency, they have been very helpful, and they're going to work alongside with us to make sure that we're marketing these communities to ensure that we keep the interest going in those markets. And then Joanne and Karen are going to be going to a conference here shortly, and they're going to be able to tell other carriers we have this marketing funding available, And so really make sure you keep Daytona Beach high on your radar when you're looking at expanding your market.
It has to be supported locally, right?
Yeah. If you keep driving to Orlando, you're not giving the airlines any incentive to look at us because they know you're driving to Orlando.
And you're taking all of your money outside of our county. Right. Because you're going to drive to Orlando, you're going to pay the tolls, you're going to gas your car up, you're going to have lunch, whatever it is, you're spending all that money outside of Volusia County.
That's exactly it.
And you're spending all that extra money because you didn't fly out of DAB, which doesn't make sense at all. So we've got all of it. Kelsey?
I'm just saying, if you're booking for your holidays, book now.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, you guys are talking about flying up north. Everyone's getting into
I've always wanted to do New York.
I've
always wanted
now.
to do New York in the winter.
You should do it. It's beautiful.
New York in the winter, it bites a little bit, but but the Christmas lights are good. You can see the tree getting, Rockefeller Plaza, right?
So we're almost out of time. We definitely need to. We could have done this for another hour, right? There's so much more that I want to talk about. When Kelsey and I used to work up in St. Augustine, we worked a little bit with the St. Augustine Airport. When the TPC was happening, all of the golfers would come in, and so it was always fun for us to go look at the planes and say whose plane is that, whatever, right? What's the last celebrity you saw walk through your doors?
A regular flyer of user of our airport is Michael Waltrip. Which I think is a big deal.
Yeah.
He's major NASCAR driver, and now he's an analyst. And he has his own beer.
Oh, I forgot we announced his beer.
He flies American. He's a loyal American Airlines, and he just walks in like it's no big deal. And
you guys probably a lot of NASCAR, especially. I mean that's got to dominate when the races are happening, right?
Yeah, and a lot of the private airlines, they don't necessarily they park at the fixed based operator, and they go through that. They don't necessarily come through the terminal for the private jets. But
I see all our local celebrities.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Butler came through the other day. So he's the president of Embry-Riddle, and
that's a big deal.
Yeah, big deal for him. He's like, hey, Cyrus, and I'm like, yep, keep using us. And that's the thing. The NASCAR brass too. When they fly back and forth between here and Charlotte, they're using our facility, and that's what we want.
That's got to be a fun place to work. Listen, we're out of time, but will you come back and let's talk more airports sometime soon?
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. What's your closing line?
Let's see. DAB, right airport, right here, and fly happy at DAB.
Fly DAB first.
Have a great week in Volusia County.